Hi, and welcome to Stamp with Ginny. Today I'm going to share with you this fun card that I made using the Back on Your Feet stamp set. So let me set this aside and we'll get started. For this project, I'm using our fun new Pigment Sprinkles in our colors. You're going to love these new Pigment Sprinkles. Not only do they have the screw-on cap, but they also have this great little shaker cap on the inside that seals to keep your pigments nice and fresh. Don't worry about what the pigment looks like on the bottle. This one happens to be orange in color, oddly enough. The color on the cap will tell you what it'll turn out to, and you can just watch the magic. So I am going to start with a piece of our watercolor paper, and I am going to start by taking my aqua painter and doing a good coat of water on it. And then I'm going to take my pigment and open up that shaker cap, and I am going to sprinkle lightly onto the watercolor paper. Now, in order to get some more movement, if you'd like, and soften that, I can take my Stampin' Spritzer and I can add more water until I get the amount of blend that I like. And of course, you can always move that around also. Now for this project, even though I'm going to cut it down into smaller sizes, I am starting with a full-size piece of watercolor paper because I want to do this all at once and make it a little easier. Once I've got that done, I'm going to take my paper towel and I am going to dab that, and what that's doing for me is removing that excess water so that it's not as deep and dark, and it also allows my paper to dry a little quicker. If you want to speed up this process, go ahead and hit it with your heat tool. While my watercolor paper dries, I am going to start with the image of this adorable little turtle. I'm bringing in my Memento ink and my turtle, and I'm going to ink him up. And remember, we're using the Memento ink because we are going to be using our blends, and you need that in order to color. And I am going to bring in my soft suede, my seafoam, and my, my shaded spruce, and I'm going to start with simple coloring. Blends are not intimidating at all. There's a thin side here or a fine tip, and then there's also a flare tip so that if you are less comfortable working with the larger tip, you can choose the smaller tip. And I am going to simply go around my turtle and highlight those areas in the dark shade that I want. And I'm going to put a line down here, and I'm going to simply do a couple of the dividing lines here on his shell. And then I can come back with my light shade and simply blend those together, and simply in a circular motion add a little more color, which will allow those to blend. It's really that quick and easy. And I'm going to do the same thing with my dark. I am going to add where the shaded line is, and this set gives you those guides so that you know exactly where to put it. And I'm using my fine tip for this. Remember, these are alcohol markers, so you'll want to move quickly so that they don't dry as you go forward. And then I'm bringing in the light and doing the rest of his legs. Also remember that because they are alcohol markers, you don't want to leave them on your table for extended periods of time while you are using another shade. You want to cap them, and if you're worried about damaging the tip, simply set them on your table, slide the cap on, and click. And I'm ready to move on to my shaded spruce. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm simply going to add some of the dark where I would like it. And I'm going to add the spots also. So I'm going to use my flare tip for that because I'm doing the entire spot, and that'll allow me to do it more quickly. And of course, you know we have our color lifter so that if you go out of the lines, you can push that color right back in. If you don't have a color lifter, it's a great investment and makes this so much easier for those small little oops. Okay, I've got the dark done, and at this point I can bring in my light, and with a light touch I can color in the rest of my turtle shell. And at this point, since I did the dark first, I'm okay with it going over those spots a little bit because it's a darker color and it won't show. So there you go, quick and easy. So I'm finished with my blends and I'm ready to cut this out with our layering oval die. Okay, here we go. So my turtle has now been cut out and I'm ready to move on to that watercolor paper that I did earlier. It should be dry now and I'm ready to cut. So I'm going to bring in my trimmer and I'm going to get started cutting. I need to have these 4 pieces of cardstock measuring 2 3/8 by 1 3/4. So I'm going to set this on the side that I want to keep and put it on the 2 3/8 inch mark and cut, and then slide it over again and do the same thing, 2 3/8 and cut. And then at that point I need to flip them so that I can do 1 3/4. So I'm going to put it on the 1 3/4, and you can kind of pick which portion of this you want to cut. If you like the idea of the sprinkles showing, or you like the idea of the white space, that's up to you. So I've got 2 of them, and I'm going to repeat with the second piece. And I can move my trimmer to the side. At this point, I'm ready to start building. So I am going to take my shaded spruce piece here, and I am going to lay those pieces of watercolor paper out, turning them and deciding which way I want the pattern to be and what I want to show. I kind of want to have some difference here in colors and shades, so I want to turn them so that the center is my dead spot and I don't want that portion showing. So once I've got them there, I can flip them over and add my adhesive. Now if your watercolor paper buckled a little bit as it dried, that's okay. Just make sure you add a strong adhesive to the back. That'll hold it in place. And what I find is by doing the 2 corners first and using the multi-purpose liquid adhesive, it gives me some wiggle room and some time to play, even in our hot Georgia summer. It's really humid here because of all the rain we've had, and so the multi-purpose adhesive really allows things to have that tight hold that we want, so our cards stay together. Okay, I've got those on, and at this point I am ready to layer this. You can turn this over and burnish it a little bit with your fingers to make sure you've got good contact with that multi-purpose glue. And then I'm going to add some to the back, and I'm going to layer it onto my soft suede piece. Same thing, I'm going to turn it over, make sure that's great and adhered well. And then I'm going to bring in my Granny Apple piece of cardstock here, which is my card base, fold it in half, and once again add adhesive to the back of my soft suede piece that's been layered, and then add it to my card front. Now I like to do this layering the soft suede first and then adding it to the card front because of the watercolor paper. It just allows you to add that burnishing step, which will flatten the paper and give you a stronger bond. Now at this point I'm going to bring in my shaded spruce oval. This happens to be the scallop that coordinates with the turtle that I cut out, and I'm going to adhere that in the center. And then I'm going to take my cute little turtle and I am going to flip him over, and I am going to add some Stampin' Dimensionals onto the back so that I've got this little bit of shadow between the 2 layers. It just adds a little more depth to my card front. So I've attached the turtle there. That's it. It's that quick and easy. So let me show you the original again. If you'd like any of these products, feel free to stop by my online store. You can get there from my blog, Stamp with Jini. Thanks for joining me.